Asking, why am I single? Why don't you ask yourself, what beliefs do I have about dating that is sabotaging the way I show up and view relationships? What's poppin', everybody? It's your girl TUADIOR, and I'm back with another video. Guys, we're gonna talk about something a little crazy today, and I'm gonna talk about the modern dating trends that I feel like are keeping people single. There's so much modern dating advice everywhere. You know, TikTok, you can just scroll for hours and you are going to see so much advice out there.
Ladies, when a guy's very physically attracted to you, you will start to notice that he'll start to push past the disagreement.
I'm going to share with you my texting commandments of dating. Now,
during the dating stage, there's a type of woman that a man does not play with. And when he finally gets her, he don't play about her either. A man knows who he can try and who he actually has to show up for.
Ladies, here is something that men will just never admit to you. But I will, because I make content for a living, so you're in luck. Now, at the very beginning, like when you guys first met, the only thing, and I mean the only thing that he cares about is your looks. That is it, nothing else. Maybe
everyone claims to know exactly why everyone's single. And my video is no different. You hear things like, if
he wanted to, he would.
You hear like, you deserve better.
Set your boundaries.
I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of this advice really does sound very empowering and it really sounds very liberating, and people have so much access to dating advice right now. And with all the dating advice out there, people are more single than they've ever been. People are more anxious than they've ever been. And it just looks like everybody's just mad at why they can't find love. So the real question is modern dating advice actually helping us, or is it sabotaging the way that we connect? So for me, I feel like there's 4 main dating trends that keep people single. The first trend is the spark problem. And this is kind of alluding to the fact that stability feels boring to most people. A lot of reasons why most people stop seeing someone is because they didn't feel the spark. I mean, do you want to be electrocuted? I don't understand. And I'm not going to hold you. Attraction does matter, but a lot of us confuse emotional instability with chemistry. A lot of us experience a lot of ghosting, a lot of hot and cold behavior, emotional unavailability, and a lot of love bombing. And so it now starts to become the nerve. And what we're learning is that our nervous system is getting so used to that is the norm for what we're supposed to expect. So now your brain is now associating anxiety with attraction. And even though we claim that we hate instability and hot and cold behavior, that is secretly what we keep attracting and keep going for. So then when you meet somebody who's very consistent, calm, a little boring, you feel like you didn't feel the spark, you didn't feel the chemistry, but that person actually hasn't really done anything wrong. And I think this is also a very sticky slope, because sometimes you really aren't attracted to them, but you have to always question that this person is not acting like the normal. They're not acting hot and cold. They're not ghosting. They're not being really intense when you first meet them, then pulling away. They're staying calm, cool, and steady. And now you think that you don't have a spark, but it's actually you responding to something you've never seen. Your nervous system is now afraid of stability. Stability actually doesn't really cause emotional high. You're used to the chaos. So people who keep saying that they don't feel a spark, they're actually saying they're not used to the emotional chaos and turmoil. And I'll be very honest with you guys. I think this is the hugest one for me, is that you get so damaged dating nowadays that you get used to the toxic, crazy, the guys that are so charming, you know, they're so entertaining to talk to. You get so caught up with those people that you forget that you actually probably need somebody a little more predictable, right? Not because you want to be bored, but you need somebody that's not going to be up and down. You don't need to do things for the plot. Real connection grows with safety and stability, not uncertainty. A second trend that I feel like keeps a lot of people single is this idea of ultimatum culture. The idea that nobody can do any wrong. The second that somebody does something wrong, they are not worthy of partnership.
Okay, y'all, so tell me if I'm tripping. So this guy messaged me saying that he wants me to come to Turks and Caicos with him. I said, okay, cool, like, let's do it. So I proceed to ask for money for my beauty maintenance, like a new wig, you know, lashes, nails, toes, you know, like normal girl stuff, because to go on a trip costs way more than the actual trip. Like, that's like $1,000 right there. And that's not including the new clothes. So I was like, I'm gonna need that. And he was like, why I gotta give you all of that? I'm already paying for the whole trip, this, that, and third. Block, because why would you ask me to come on the trip if you're not ready to cover?
Modern dating trends are really big on creating rules and ultimatums for both men and women alike. You hear things like, if he wanted to, he would. You hear things of, if they don't want you when you want them, leave as soon as possible. If they're not ready when you are, that means they're the worst person. They were wasting your time. They hate you and you gotta leave. You hear never compromise on your standards. I'm not going to say boundaries are not important, and I'm not saying stay where you're not wanted, but what these trends are doing is they're villainizing human imperfection. Relationships are messy. Timing is messy. People are messy. Growth is messy. But modern dating advice treats people like they're supposed to be perfect at all times. So what ends up happening is a lot of people start building ideal partners in their mind. So then that person ends up becoming somebody who never disappoints them, always communicates perfectly, and meets every criteria that they're looking for. The truth is that person doesn't exist. Everyone is flawed and everybody is growing. And if you're waiting for somebody that is perfectly made and doesn't have any issues, and you don't actually learn how to work through things, love is not just liking somebody. It's also being able to grow with somebody. That means where the other person is weak, you gotta pick them up. Where the other person is stronger, they can pick you up. It's not just going to be that. You're not going to always meet a perfectly made person. You yourself are not perfect, but yet you want other people to be perfect. And this ultimatum culture, this all or nothing culture, it's really killing singles out here because they're looking for something that literally does not exist. Perfect relationships are two imperfect people building over time. The third trend is the illusion of options. You know me, I love a good dating app. I love the Hinge, I love the Bumble, I'm banned from Tinder. I love a good dating app because it allows you to meet people that you probably would never meet in person, but also you get to kind of see different things, get different experience. But I feel that not even just dating apps, but social media in general has given people that idea that, okay, I can just hit a DM and I can get somebody else. And now people start believing that they have all these options, right? Well, okay, if you don't like me, I'll swipe left and I'll swipe right and get another person. And psychology kind of calls this the paradox of choice. That when people actually have too many options, they actually become less satisfied because then they start overthinking, they start not really investing in relationships, and that's what you see today. You might be meeting people that are actually cool, but you might be thinking, oh, okay, well, if they're not perfect, I'll just find somebody else. And then years and years and years go by and you never find that somebody else. And this is different because a lot of people say don't settle, but what I think people are forgetting is that you got to kind of pick and choose what your main things are, right? Some people are not going to prioritize finances over looks. Some people, it's looks over finances. Some people want somebody that's of the same faith as them. You have to pick what are your most important stuff, and you got to work with everything else, because the reality is that nobody is going to be the perfect guy. There's always going to be something that's not going to be ideal, but you have to learn to work with it because there's something about you that isn't ideal, right? And somebody's working with you, but you don't realize that. We see a lot of relationships on social media. We see a lot of highlight reels. People like profit off of being in relationships together. So you might see another girl talking about what her man does for her, even on your local timeline. You might be seeing what your friend's man do for her. And now you start thinking that there's something better out there because you're seeing what other people done, when you don't know what the actual dynamic in their relationship is. You don't know why he's giving her flowers every day. You don't know what they had to work through to get to the place that they are today. You're only seeing the highlight reel. What we all know is that relationships grow over time. Compatibility, stability, it grows over time. If you're just trying to look for every little connection and you don't invest in connections just because you think there's somebody else or you're going to go somewhere else, what ends up happening is that you don't really build relationships. You're just talking to people. You're not really building anything. You're just wasting your time. Take your time. That's why Hinge, they don't let you match with a bunch of people because it's not going to work. If you have so many people you're talking to, you're not going to build anything with anyone. They give you 8 people, try to make it work with these 8 people. If it don't work, then you move on. And I think that that's a really smart thing, because you're actually going to build a relationship. And the last but most important trend that I think is the dangerous is the gender war. Men and women nowadays hate each other. And I don't see how, if we hate each other, we're going to get into relationships anytime soon.
No, because men really are so dumb that it really makes it hard to respect them sometimes, because you're just looking at them like,
y'all girls are way worse in a relationship than guys are. Don't
Let me tell you something. It has not been my loss yet. I have literally never, and I mean never, left or been left by a man and thought to myself, oh my God, I just lost a good one. It has never happened.
I'm just gonna come out and say it. Y'all females are worse than us men, okay? I don't care what y'all think, what y'all say. I don't care about any of that, because after...
Men are learning from the manosphere that women are too needy, manipulative, and they have to be this tough alpha male that doesn't want to show any. Women are learning how to be afraid of men. There's literally girls who start their content saying, I'm afraid of men. Men suck. I hate men. Well, how are you going to be in a relationship with a man if you hate them? You know, like, I just don't see how I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. And what people are failing to realize is that when you keep consuming all this negative dating content, the people who are even making these content, most of the time don't have their dating life together, or other times are in happy, committed relationships, married, doing their same. They're just making content for you to consume to keep you single. You know, they say you are what you eat, right? And what you're consuming, it's shaping the way you're showing up in this world. If you keep watching videos about how men suck, you're not going to find anybody. You know, you're not going to find anybody unless you don't want to find nobody. But I'm saying that if you're looking for somebody, you cannot be consuming content that's telling you to hate men, right? It's just not going to work. If you're looking for a girl, like, you can't consume content that's telling you to, like, play a girl and hurt her feelings and do all that stuff. You can't watch that stuff. If you're actually looking for a true, solid, healthy relationship, you cannot listen to those gender war, gender bias stuff. You just can't. Truth is that love requires a level of vulnerability. If you are falling in love, looking for love, you will fall down and get up. It requires people to get to know you. It requires you to let your guard down. How are you going to build a relationship if your guard is up at all times? It requires you to be present. It requires you to do stuff. It requires you to show you care. It requires that stuff. But a lot of the dating advice here, it tells you how to attract people that don't want those things. So then you start doing all these, I'm not going to text him back. I'm not going to do this. You're going to do all these things, and it's sabotaging you. You're thinking that it's making you look cool and gangster, but you're attracting somebody that you have to work so hard to get. Instead of focusing on finding what you need, you're listening to all this stuff and you're still single. Gender war, I think, is one of the biggest things that I see that is really, really messing up men and women, because you're listening to all this noise and you're still in the same position you were when you started. Modern dating culture teaches us to protect ourselves at all cost. But when two people have closed walls, they cannot connect. So I'm not saying everything is wrong, and you can learn things from other people's experiences, but you have to kind of live your own lived experience. And you have to understand that not everybody's situation is one way. Sometimes they might tell you, don't be there for a guy when he hasn't invested in you. But sometimes the girl that was there for that guy when he was struggling, some men might realize, hey, you really helped me out. I want to be with you. You have to have that level of discernment. They may tell a guy, don't pay for all the dates, but some girls really appreciate that. They might tell you, don't do certain things at certain times, but some people still end up in good relationships because of that, and they learn and they grow together. We have to have a level of discernment, but we also have to have a level of allowing ourselves to fall in love. And I know a lot of us get hurt. A lot of us get jaded. A lot of us will be single for 5 years at a time because we get one heartbreak and then we become single for 5 years at a time. But what you have to realize is that sometimes you just got to get your reps in, right? If you keep hiding yourself, you keep guarding yourself, you're not going to find. Take it as an experience. Take it as, hey, I'm trying something new. I'm trying something that fits. Give people a chance. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes use your discernment, but allow yourself to fall in love. Allow yourself to show up, because you're not going to learn if you stay guarded. You're not going to grow if you stay guarded. Understand, hey, maybe the first 10 people I meet aren't going to be my person. You don't want everyone to be your person. You don't want every guy you meet to be your person. You don't want every girl you meet to be your person. You want your person, and you cannot find that person if you don't allow yourself. And you just gotta have that discernment and that level of self-esteem. So if you need to heal. If you need to, get some things in order that will make you feel confident, do that. But you do not have to be perfect to be in love, but you have to be open and you have to be ready. Love is patience, love is safety, love is communication. Sometimes you guys are not even valuing those things when you date. You're just thinking about the wallet and the optics and the this and the that, but you're not thinking about what you need to feel secure. Asking, why am I single? Why don't you ask yourself, what beliefs do I have about dating that is sabotaging the way I show up and view relationships? I'm your girl TUADIOR. Thank you for watching my channel. On the tip, we talk about the culture, ambition, identity, dating, you name it. If you love those topics, feel free to give me a like, comment, and subscribe. I love you so much. Thank you for watching my videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.